Welcome to this explainer, where we're going to synthesize the psychology of manipulation. We're uncovering the hidden playbook used by toxic bosses and personal gaslighters alike. Because, well, here's the absolute truth. Some leaders don't actually lead. They manipulate. And some relationships aren't built on love, but on control. Let's start with the really crucial question to anchor this explainer. Think about this for a second. Because whether it's a manager holding the keys to your career or a partner holding your heart, the emotional toll is exactly the same. Doubting your own reality is literally one of the most damaging psychological tactics out there. And today, we're going to expose exactly how it works. To make sense of all this, we'll break the manipulator's playbook into 5 quick chapters. The invisible trap, distorting your reality, the blame game, isolating and controlling you, and finally, why the playbook works. All right, part 1, the invisible trap. Let's explore how manipulation rarely announces itself and instead hides right in plain sight.
So we've got to define gaslighting right off the bat. It doesn't just happen all at once. It is a slow, steady erosion of trusting your own memory. I mean, nobody wakes up one day and just forgets how to trust themselves, right? It's a highly methodical process. It's the misplaced keys they absolutely swore they handed to you, a tiny comment here, a subtle dismissal there, day after day, until you actually start questioning your own mind. It's this constant drip feed of doubt that slowly replaces your self-assuredness with a really profound sense of uncertainty.
What's wild is how the exact same psychological tactics are deployed in 2 totally different environments to achieve the same hidden control. At work, a toxic boss expertly leverages a power imbalance. They'll hide behind sudden, unreasonable deadlines and so-called constructive feedback. Just brushing their behavior off as hype, it's just business. But at home, the personal gaslighter uses intimacy as their shield. They weave their manipulation right into the fabric of a loving relationship, making it incredibly tough to spot until you're already deeply entangled. The environment completely changes, for sure, but the underlying playbook, it remains exactly the same. Which brings us to part 2, distorting your reality, and how manipulators keep you perpetually off balance. You see, the manipulator's first active weapon is distorting the facts. By repeatedly denying things that actually happened, using these chillingly calm phrases like, "I never said that," or "you're just imagining things," they force you into a psychological corner. If you hear "I never said that" enough times from someone you inherently trust, the seed of doubt is planted. You start analyzing your own brain, thinking, man, maybe I really am misremembering. That is active distortion happening in real time. They are literally rewriting your memory to suit their narrative. And these tactics are designed to force a very specific reaction from you. Take the concept of moving the goalposts. If a boss constantly shifts expectations, like changing the metrics of success on a project right before it's due on a Friday afternoon, you're trapped in this exhausting, endless cycle of trying to prove yourself. You are running a race where the finish line just keeps moving. Or take constant contradictions in a personal relationship. One day they love how independent you are. The next they're complaining you don't need them. You're kept entirely off balance, which makes you perpetually dependent on them just to feel stable. So here is the absolutely crucial takeaway. This results in confusion isn't an accident. It's not some simple miscommunication. It is the exact, deliberate mechanism they use to control your reality. Because when they spin you around so fast that you don't know which way is up, you literally have no choice but to rely on them to tell you. Let's move to part 3, the blame game, and see how this confusion builds into deflecting accountability entirely. Think about what happens when you finally try to address their behavior. The manipulator expertly flips the script. They'll drop phrases like, "You're being way too sensitive," or "You're overreacting." This is such an incredibly effective tactic because it instantly changes the subject. Suddenly, you aren't discussing their harmful behavior anymore. You've been put on the defensive, forced to justify your completely normal human reaction to being mistreated. Instead of taking any accountability, they make your reaction the core problem. Notice the overarching pattern here across both spaces. The manipulator always avoids responsibility and makes sure you carry the heavy burden of the blame. A toxic boss will happily stand on stage, right, taking all the credit for a shared success. But the moment a project fails, they will violently deflect and blame you. They might even act like they tried to stop you from making the mistake. At home, a gaslighter will twist an argument so masterfully, bringing up past, totally unrelated grievances, that you somehow end up apologizing to them, even when you did absolutely nothing wrong. And this often shows up as public praise paired with private criticism. A toxic boss might build a stellar reputation publicly while quietly dismantling your confidence behind closed doors. They'll act like your biggest cheerleader in front of upper management. They're charismatic, charming, outwardly supportive, but in your one-on-one meetings, they completely tear down your ideas. This makes it nearly impossible for you to speak out. I mean, to everyone else in the office, they seem like an absolute saint. Who would even believe you if you tried to report them? All right, part 4, isolating and controlling you. This is where the manipulator actively cuts off your lifelines. If you try to set healthy boundaries, like finally taking a much-needed weekend off or asserting a limit on your time, they will weaponize guilt. They'll say things like, well, the team is really counting on you, or I thought you care about us. They frame your perfectly reasonable boundary as a deeply selfish act. And by doing this, they make you feel incredibly guilty for simply taking care of your own well-being. These isolating tactics ensure you are cut off from anyone who might actually validate your feelings. At home, they might subtly discourage you from seeing friends or family, framing it as, oh, I just want more time for the two of us. That effectively removes the exact people who could give you a much-needed reality check. At work, they deliberately foster rivalry, playing favorites so nobody teams up or compares notes. They might drop vague threats about who is replaceable just to keep everyone on edge. It's an entire ecosystem designed to keep you anxious, alone, and desperately seeking their validation, because they're the only source of feedback you've got left. And finally, part 5, why the playbook works. Let's uncover the actual psychological formula that makes this so devastatingly effective over time. This exact sequence is the engine of manipulation. First, it's the repetition of these tactics over time. Second, it's the leveraging of your initial, genuine trust in them. Third, the forced isolation from outside support. It is this constant drip, drip, drip of denial leveled against someone you inherently want to trust while you're cut off from the outside world. And the inevitable psychological results of this whole formula? A completely eroded sense of self-confidence. You literally stop trusting yourself because that is exactly what the system is designed to do. Listen, if you recognize these core warning signs in your workplace or your personal relationships, hear this clearly. You are not being too sensitive. Moving goalposts, trivializing feelings, deflecting blame, and creating confusion. These aren't just character quirks. This is a deliberate, documented playbook. Acknowledging that these patterns exist is the very first step to dismantling their power over you. The most important takeaway from this entire explainer is simple, but it is deeply powerful. Your memory is far more reliable than you have been made to believe. Do not let someone else rewrite your reality simply to serve their own need for control. So, now that you've unmasked the manipulator's playbook, you hold the power to see the invisible trap. I'll leave you with this final thought to consider. How will you protect your reality today? If you've seen these tactics play out in your own life, drop a comment below and subscribe for more psychology explainers. Catch you in the next one.